Good afternoon, everyone. So today my presentation will be about covering the landscape on the decarbonization happening, and at the end I will also touch few slides on what is we are doing in India with respect to the decarbonization initiatives from the government. So if you see, of course, you would have seen this slide earlier as well. The speed for the decarbonization has been set by IMO. Compared to 2008 levels, so IMO has said that to decarbonize net zero by 2050, but then they also had intermediate targets by 2020, by 2030 to reduce by 20%, and by 2040 to reduce by 70%. Of course, striving for 30 and 80%. So until 2024, what we have achieved till now in maritime globally is that only 3.6%. So for the next 5 years, the shipping has to reduce by another 16.4%. And that's quite a substantial task. And how we are going to do it? There are a range of measures made, alternate fuels or energy savings that could be possibly done. So I'll just cover in my next coming slides. So if you see this, the regulations are coming that will impose a cost on the emissions. So what that means is the asset value of the prices of the assets will actually have a significant change. If a ship which is having emissions which is well within this one, it may have a higher asset value, whereas compared to a vessel where your emissions are quite high. So the asset prices are going to significantly change because of the regulations that are coming in. And if you see in EU, 2024 was the first full year when EU emission trading system has come in place for the ships. And 2025, starting this year, Fuel EU Maritime has also kicked in. And then if you look at what IMO is doing, IMO is working on a global greenhouse fuel intensity standard, which consists of a technical element and a commercial element. A technical element is more about reducing the carbon fuel intensity, and whereas the financial element is, you could call it as a carbon tax or flexible system by pooling of different ships. So globally, if you see, it was mentioned in the earlier panel as well, more than 50% of the new ships that are being ordered currently have the capability to run on alternate fuels. Of course, it varies largely from the different ship types. We still see LNG as being quite predominant, but then having said that, we also see that methanol and some ammonia fuel ships are being ordered as well. Though the offtake of technology on the ammonia fuel engines has yet to be completely matured. There are also ships mostly on the short sea shipping where they are running with hybrid with batteries. So if you take the vessels with respect to operating mostly on the coast or which are pretty much on the short sea shipping, they are, most of them are actually being ordered with hybrid. So as I said, for meeting IMO's 2030 target of reduced by 20%, we have a database where we have monitoring the IMO emission levels compared to 2008, and to reduce this by 16%, and if global shipping, if by that time, if we could manage to reduce by 16%, then shipping would require less carbon neutral fuels. That means whatever fuels that will be available at that point of time, because shipping also has to compete with other industries, hard to abate industries like aviation and other industries. As if we could actually reduce that, whatever fuels that would be available, as per our estimates, 10% to 100%. Of course, it's a different, quite a large scale, but it all depends on how much shipping would be able to achieve. That would be actually be saved by shipping. So how do we do that? So the world fleet must attack energy losses. If you see, only about half the fuel energy is actually converted into thrust, and 1/3 of it is actually used to actually move the ship through the water. So there's a lot of efficiencies that could be gained both for existing ships and the new builds that are being ordered. And there is a potential to save by approximately 16%. And if this 16% could be achieved, that will be equivalent to 55,000 smallest ships that could run on fossil fuels, or equivalent to 2,500 the largest ships which are operating completely on fossil fuel. Then as we speak, there is also digitalization that is going on. So this helps the ship owners to take decisions, be it with respect to weather routing, or be it informed decisions, because now there are more and more ships being supported from the land-based people sitting on the land. So this the digitalization also helps with respect to your emissions, because by providing this additional information about you're operating these vessels in the different routes. So shore power, so this has the potential to reduce by 7%. Even if the shore power, let's say, is produced by fossil fuels, because of the efficiency that could actually be brought in, it's recommended that still to use shore power when the ships are at ports. If you see in Fuel EU Maritime, it says that from 2030, all container ships and passenger ships over 5,000 GT, it is mandatory that when they are in use, they should be using shore power. So onboard carbon capture, this could be one of the most cost-effective solution. In the maritime forecast which we publish every year, in this 2024 which we published, we mentioned about this onboard carbon capture. So of course, for this solution to to succeed, the value chain at the land base has to be built up. And whatever the GFI mechanism which IMO is working, and the EU ETS, Fuel EU, or whatever funds that are actually going to be collected, possibly it could be used for building up the infrastructure at the ports. So what you see here on the screen, the green size, what is the location of the carbon capture projects. Not specifically for shipping, but both land-based and for all the industries. And the 10 largest announced projects for CO2 storage have a planned capacity of 7.5 to 20 million tons per year. And in blue, what we show here, it's indicated that the annual emissions of the ships during their last voyage. So if this could be captured, for example, and the onboard, the carbon capture storage at the port facilities is available. So that last voyage CO2 could be captured and then transferred to the facilities on the land. So for Singapore and Rotterdam, which are the largest or the busiest ports, the capacity amounts to 24 million tons of CO2 and 30 million for Rotterdam respectively. So there is also a possibility where green corridors will have to be built to capture these carbon capture. So these are different fuel strategies. So in DNV we believe that there is no one single fuel that is going to play. All fuels will be relevant. So fuel specific strategies would be required. So what you see here is like on biofuel, methanol, and ammonia and hydrogen scenario. So these are strategies where you're saying that all the fuels would be relevant, whichever strategy you go for, and onboard carbon capture storage will play a significant role going forward. So what this means, because of the decarbonization, the costs are going to increase. And by 2030, we see the bulk carrier, container and tankers would increase by around 20-25%. And by 2050, we see bulk carriers would increase by 70%. And containers prices will increase almost will double by 100%. And these costs will of course be passed through the value chain at the end to the consumers. And movements for this could already be seen in the market. So pooling, as I mentioned, this is being worked in the island. So pooling alone can save around 6% for on the decarbonization costs. If you see a variant from fueling in maritime, if one ship which is running on e-methanol, for example, that could offset 13 ships which are running on fossil fuels. So what that means is that if you have over-compliant ships, it could be a different a new business. Let's say, for example, where if you are having over-compliant ships, you could take in ships which are under-compliant, and then of course you could charge for whatever that is. Yeah, so just summarizing it, half the ordered tonnage can use alternate fuels, the new buildings that are being ordered as we speak. Then shore power will have the potential to reduce the emissions by around 6%. Energy efficiency measures could save by approximately 16%. CO2 storage will have to be built in conjunction with land-based trees. Then decarbonizing shipping could double the cost for containerized ships by 2050. And pooling will have the potential to reduce by 6%. So with respect to India in about decarbonization, I will not go very much into detail, but we have the Indian government has come up with this Maritime India Vision and the Maritime 2030 and Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047. So a couple of points in that which I would like to stress upon is one is this Green Tug Transition Program and the Shipbuilding Financial Assistance. So the Green Tug Transition Program is the government has mandated or identified 3 ports where they want to have all the tugs operating there with hydrogen. And by 2025, by this year, they have wanted the first tugs at like Vizag, Kandla and Tuticorin. And by 2030, they expect that all the tugs operating in these ports would run on hydrogen or hybrid mode. So if you look at it, the government is actually standardizing it because different tugs are being built at different yards with different designs. So they also wanted to standardize the designs so that it would be easier for both the ship owners and shipbuilders to build these type of tugs. And the other one is with respect to the Shipbuilding Financial Assistance Program. Of course, it was further again announced in the budget this year about this Maritime Development Fund. So most shipbuilding countries have this, but Indian government is the one which was quite open and went ahead and published this openly. The shipbuilding financial assistance for any ship currently stands at 14%. But if it is hybrid, then it's 20%, and if it is methanol or ammonia fueled, then it's 30%. Of course, there is also a capping of 40 crores if it is not a specialized vessel, because if you go into the details, it's further divided into specialized vessels and non-specialized vessels. But having said that, I understand in this budget that this capping would be removed. So if a shipyard is building, let's say, $60 million for an wind farm support vessel of methanol fuel, then the shipyard gets straight away 30%, $18 million of the shipyard financial assistance. And what we understand is that in the, of course, what was announced and what is going to come out soon, that it will be further enhanced. Then of course, Make in India initiative and indigenous design and technology. If you see India, of course, we have shipyards, but there are no or maybe very few ship designs coming out of India. And major costs of these shipyards, if you see, almost 60% of it goes towards the equipment suppliers. So India is also looking at developing clusters around the shipyards where they could actually, all the shipbuilding equipment could be sourced locally. Because currently, other than steel, cables and some valves, especially for commercial vessels, most of the equipment, main engines, pumps, motors, everything comes mostly from outside India. So the government is pushing to develop clusters for shipbuilding equipment as well. So that's one of the drivers. Yeah, thank you.